I'm Bobby Grizik, and welcome to this book review. This particular review is on the novel Dead Witch Walking by Kim Harrison. It's the first novel in her series called The Hollows, and it centers on the character of Rachel Morgan. Rachel is a witch, I guess we should get started. Now, as always, I'll be focusing on the book in the first half of this video, and the second half of this will focus on the audiobook presentation. So, let's get started. Dead Witch Walking starts out with Rachel Morgan on assignment by the company that she works for, Interland Security. It's basically a government-run agency of sorts to basically police the paranormal people, so to speak. There is a event that's referred to as the Turn, which is when witches, warlocks, and such were noticeably set apart from the rest of humanity. And the way it's done, the way Kim Harrison does this is really brilliant, and it's very simplistic, which makes it all the more believable that something like that could occur. And you look back and think one single little tiny event could spark this entire turnaround in society. That's oftentimes how things are in everyday life. So it's really, I like the way that she did that. Rachel's character is truly remarkable. You fall in love with her from the first chapter, and you just can't get enough. I'm typically not a fan of books that are written from the first person perspective. I don't know, I feel that you could tell so much more usually from a third person point of view. But with that said, this is remarkable. This book is just, Kim Harrison does it. She keeps the plot moving. There is no downtime. There is no lag. You just want to keep reading and reading and reading. And basically, in the early part of the book, Rachel, through the course of events that happen, winds up leaving the IS, Interland Security, and she basically goes rogue with another fellow ex-coworker named Ivy, who is a vampire. And what I like about this, Ivy is not the traditional Dracula vampire. She's not at all like the Twilight vampires. She is a unique Kim Harrison vampire, and Kim Harrison's portrayal of vampires is, has some of the stereotypes of all vampires, and you're going to find that across the board they always have this, this common thread of one sort or another. But the way that she writes Ivy's character and writes the vampires in general in this book is remarkable. And the thing is, Ivy really isn't the main character. She's, Rachel is. So more of the story focuses on Rachel and what she's going through, and having to deal with having a death threat put on her by her boss from the agency she just left, having to cope with that and fear for her life throughout the course of the book. And there are several attempts made on her life for choosing to leave the agency. She's also accompanied by a pixie by the name of Jinx, who at first I was a bit iffy about Jinx, but the thing about Jinx is he does grow on you very quickly, and after a few chapters I love Jinx, and I love Ivy and Rachel, and just the interplay between the three is really phenomenal. You also get to meet one of my other favorite characters. Trent Calimac is a character that he's a wealthy businessman, but nobody seems to know what he is. Is he human? Is he paranormal of some sort? And you don't find out in this book, which is really, it keeps the intrigue going and it keeps you wanting to read more. I like his character, and he basically, the suspicion that Rachel has is that he is in charge and that he is running this underground sort of sales of this substance called brimstone, which is like a drug that would get you high if you were to take it. And she infiltrates his compound to prove that he is the one behind this. And through a course of events, at one point she is a mink. She used a spell to transform herself into a mink, but she winds up trapped as one for a little bit in the book, and winds up in a cage in Trent's office. And Trent's fully aware that it is Rachel. And you could see that he does honestly have an interest there, but you could also see that he's keeping her there captive and in this mink form merely to really piss her off and to kind of teach her a lesson. By that same token, it makes you not really like Trent at that point. But you could see, as the story progresses, how the characters evolve. Book 1, Dead Witch Walking, phenomenal. Phenomenal book. The characters are very down to earth, very believable. The paranormal folk, for lack of better words, primarily hang out or reside in the Hollows, it's called. And this particular story is based in the Cincinnati area, and the Hollows is just across the ways from Cincinnati. So the way it's played out is really, really well done. I love the writing style. It flows, as I said. And you get a good sense of who's good, who's evil, for the most part. And sometimes you're misled just by Rachel's instincts, because it is told from Rachel's point of view. And from her telling the story, you kind of get the impression every now and then that you want to believe that somebody is something that they're not, which is the case with Trent initially. I'm highly impressed, and I highly recommend Dead Witch Walking by Kim Harrison. I'm going to recommend the hardcover edition because you are going to want to read this more than once. The softback version is it's a softcover book, and it's a smaller size book. The hardcover edition is regular hardcover size. It's a lot more pretty looking. It has a nice picture on the back of Kim Harrison. The cover art is fantastic. You do not get the same type of packaging with the softcover. You don't get the picture of Kim Harrison on the back. You just get a blurb about the book itself, which really isn't all that informative. It's more of a teaser, and it could be mistaken for a romance novel by the size of the softcover book, whereas the hardcover is a bit more sizable and stands out more on your shelf, or if you're out somewhere reading. It really it's got more to it, more meat to it.